Hello, Management 1010 Interdisciplinary Leadership students. I hope you are enjoying a wonderful spring break. And I just want to touch base with you. First of all, after the extensions and the ice and the snow that really wreaked havoc for several days here, I wanted to get us back on track and just reach out to you and talk about the test that actually opens tomorrow. I've actually given you a little bit more time on the test. I've extended the due date, so I hope that that works out well for you. Of course, I know that you have many assignments ongoing in this class, your writing assignments as well as your quizzes, and so those will have to be done as well. But what I want to go over with you right now is the test instructions, and also just kind of show you the test in terms of where you go to take it and all that. Okay, I'm in our course here in Pause, and if you look at the assessment link, come down here to quizzes. And you may right now be working on, probably into the wee hours, your Unit 6 quiz. And if so, that's excellent. Now, I know you know this, but I just want to point out that on the quizzes you have unlimited attempts, right? I mean, the quizzes are designed to be a learning tool. They immerse you into the readings, into the textbook, and kind of drag you through it. You take it, you try to score above the minimum score. Hopefully, whether you do or not, you repeat the quiz because by repeating it you go through all the questions in the quiz bank, like we talked about way back at the beginning of the chapter. You become familiar with it and you are directly preparing for the exam. Now you see the exam here and it says that it opens tomorrow 1 a.m. You can jump up and take the test, and I extended this due date so you have all the way through next week. And if you can see this is the calendar. The test is going to open Wednesday the 12th, and it's going to go all the way through spring break, which will give you some time. Some people need spring break to concentrate on the task at hand, which in this case would be the test, and to do very well on it. But if you're waiting until we come back from spring break and classes have resumed and you're back on campus, then you have that entire week until Friday the 21st, okay? So what I suggest to you is pick a day that you're going to commit no matter what. This is as important as picking up your paycheck. This is as important as going to a party that your boss is throwing, an event that your kids are required to go to for their success. I mean, this is important. Put it on your calendar. Plan a time to take that test. Do not wait until Friday, the 21st, because if you do, that is when disaster tends to strike. Something's going to come up that's going to prevent you from getting to a computer, prevent you from getting to a reliable internet connection. You don't get to start until much later than you thought, and then the test times out at 11:55, and you've only been working on the test for 5 minutes. Don't put yourself in that situation. Okay, you also see, as we're still on this screen here, that you have only one attempt at this test. Your quizzes, you have unlimited attempts, but the test, only one attempt. Now listen to me, folks, because if you're thinking right now that that means one attempt unless something happens, then that would be a huge mistake, because it's one attempt no matter what. If lightning strikes, if an earthquake hits, if water comes pouring down, you still have to take that test. Okay, you have one attempt and it has to be done in a single session. There are 0 retakes, there are 0 makeups. You got to get it right the first time. So let me stress that, and I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, but you only have one attempt to the test. How do you prepare for that? Well, you get to a reliable internet connection, a reliable computer. That may mean that you need to go to a public library. That may mean that you need to go to the college's library, okay, or computer lab. You know, it's spring break right now, so if you're not sure what the operating hours are for the library, if you think you're going to go there and work at 4 o'clock, you better make sure that the library is open not just at 4 o'clock, but if you're going to work for an hour or two, you need to make sure that the library is available. You know, the time on the computers on the campus libraries is limited. So if you are doing other assignments for a couple hours, you have to make sure that you have time left over to take your test, right? So plan all those things out. Now, you also may notice that this exam has a lock on it. And you know, it's a quiz just like your other quizzes, except for that you only have one attempt, and it has this lock. And the lock simply means that it's password protected. That's because you have one attempt and I don't want you to accidentally start it. I'm going to click it, but since it hasn't started, okay, you won't be able to see the screen. When you get to this screen, after you click it, it will stop right here and it will ask you for a password. And you'll have to enter in the password, and then down in the lower corner there will be a button that says Begin Quiz, and so that's what you'll do to enter the quiz. Okay, so what you're asking yourself right now is, but where do I get that password? Well, hopefully as you're going through the chapters, as you're reading the assignments, hopefully you are always starting with our content section. This is where you get, you know, a lot of extra resources and tools and general instructions about how to, you know, proceed throughout the chapter. For example, here's, you know, chapter 1 instructions, chapter 2, right? You probably also see it over here on the side. You know, our pause course went through a major overhaul for this semester, and so it may look different than it has if you've used pause in a different course. But along the side, you'll notice that you see, here we are, Exam 1 instructions. I'm going to click that. Now, this is where it's very distracting because I see this link to the quiz, but notice next to the category how it had the number 2. That means I should be seeing 2 different items. I need to scroll up. Folks, it's one reason I'm creating this video, because I realize that that is easy to overlook, and so it's very, very important that you scroll up, because here's the instructions that I want you to see. This is actually a link to the quiz. So, you know, a minute ago I showed you that you could go to assessment and then you could click quizzes from there. Well, you could also just simply from this content page find exam 1. When you click it, this is the link to the test. But you know it's going to ask you for that password, right? Okay, so let's go to the exam instructions. I'm going to click that. Be patient. It's going to take a moment for this screen to load. Okay, once it does, let me encourage you to do this. You can print. If you're using an older version, you may find the print icon located in a slightly different location. I would also encourage you, see how this button is for downloading? So that means to save. To download is to save it. Why don't you save it to your desktop so that you'll have quick reference to this document in case you need it. Now, I'm going to go through this with you quickly, because you can read this. I won't read every single word for it to you, but I will point out the important pieces. First of all, you already know this part, which is that you're expected to work independently. You know, I really think this is fair, and here's why. You had unlimited attempts on the quiz. You know that as you repeat those quizzes, you're seeing all the questions in the test bank, and the test is nothing more than those quizzes, all those quizzes. In other words, I tell the test, go over to the quiz and pick a couple questions. So the more times you've taken the quiz, the more likely you are to have seen all the questions that are out there in the pool for me to draw from, okay? So you had full access to that. It's basically like I've given you all the test questions in advance. So all I ask at this point is that you work the test independently. Now, the test is open notes, open book, but when we talk about independently, we're saying it is not open partner or open classmate or open friend. It's not open neighbor. The test is to be completed alone, by yourself. Okay? Now, let me explain this window of availability. A lot of students get confused about what I'm saying here because I'm going to open that test for you to take as of tomorrow morning. It's set to open. I have 12:01. I apologize because I just saw that it's actually 1 o'clock in the morning. I apologize for that. And this window during which the exam is available is Friday until 11:55. Now, you do not have that entire time to take the test. If you see the instruction right here, it says, however, time limits do apply after the test is started. And I'm going to give you the times a little bit down below. So, in other words, when you begin the test, you're going to open it, and in a single sitting, you're going to complete the entire test, and you're going to be limited, and I'll tell you now, it's going to be to about 160 minutes. You do not have a week and a half. You cannot open, stop, save, exit. You cannot do that. Once you begin that test, you have to finish it from start to finish. Now, here's what we were talking about a moment ago. One attempt on that test, right? One attempt, no retakes. Now, what do I mean by that? For example, what if your internet connection drops? What if your computer crashes? What if you're the victim of a lightning strike, earthquake? Well, you need to understand that once you begin the test, you have used up that one attempt. You have to finish it at that time, okay? So make sure you understand that if something goes wrong with that test, you may be using your one drop grade, okay? Now, during the semester, you don't want to have a problem with the test twice, because if that were to happen, then you would no longer have a drop grade. You already used it on the first test. So be careful with this test and do well. The key to success here, folks, is to prepare. Take it seriously. You know, if you have to go to the bathroom before you start the test, do that. Don't wait until you've already started the test. I have had students tell me everything from, I started the test and then I went to church. Well, while that's an admirable thing, you can't do that in the middle of a test, right? If you're going to sit down to take a test, have your book out. If you like to drink an iced tea while you're taking the test, have that glass ready. Keep it a safe distance from the computer, right? I mean, you want to be prepared. You may want to put some bookmarks in your book. Have a folded up piece of paper or something, a pencil that allows you to flip between chapters very quickly. Be fully prepared as you enter that test. Take it seriously, okay? Now, as you're working the test, you need to save the responses as you go. Tell you a true story. I was working, giving a test one day in a computer lab, and a student was taking a test, just as she should be. She was doing everything right, except that she didn't save her responses as she was taking the test. And what happened was the computer had a pop-up that said, Windows has installed some updates, and I'm going to reboot your computer in 10, 9, 8, and it started counting down. And she said, what do I do? What do I do? And by the time I could get back there to see what was going on, the computer had rebooted. Well, luckily, the pause system has graceful recovery, and when she started back up at that same computer, never change computers if something like that happens. Stay at the same computer. And when she logged back in on that same computer, it remembered that she was taking the test, and it allowed her to continue. But she had to start from the beginning because she had not saved a single response. And the time was ticking and counting down. She was running out of time. Okay, so she had to go really fast, and it was stressful. Don't put yourself in that situation. Now, again, here's the time limit. When you get ready to start the test, you're going to be asked to enter a password. You're going to put the password in. You're going to click to begin the test. From that point onward, you're going to have 160 minutes. So once you get started, you're going to have 160 minutes to complete the test. Now, 160 minutes is much longer than a traditional class period, but that's fine. That's good. That's a benefit to you, right? In just a moment, we're going to look at the number of questions that we have. So let me this is the point that I want to make with the 160 minutes. You may not need the entire 160 minutes. Hopefully, if you've been studying, you've been doing the quizzes, and if you're well prepared, you're going to complete the test very easily and very efficiently, and you'll be done and you'll score a good grade. Now, if you haven't, then you may need the full 160 minutes, but you may still have difficulty, because let's talk about this and what this time is. But the first point that I really want to emphasize is, once you begin that test, notice this bullet here, the clock will not stop for any reason. Okay, it's not going to stop for any reason. You said, yeah, but I closed and I exited the test, I saved and I came back later. Well, no matter how good, the reason is that you're going to stop that test and try to go back later, the clock is still ticking and you're going to run out of time. So make sure that you plan to complete the test in a single sitting, just like you would in a classroom. You go in, you have your books ready, you have your notes ready, you have everything bookmarked, because this is a high stakes test, right? We're going to talk about the point value in just a moment. When you are finished, what do you do with a test when you're finished? Well, you don't leave it on your desk and just get up and walk away. You don't throw it on the floor or leave it haphazardly laying around. You turn it in. In the online system, you're going to do the same thing, because you're going to click the submit button. Folks, all kinds of good things happen when you click that submit button. First of all, it's your acknowledgement to yourself that you're done. Take your time, go back over the answers, think about it. When you're ready, you click the submit button. You don't close the browser arbitrarily. You don't just click log off or turn off the power. You take 2 seconds to go to the bottom of the screen and click submit. One of the wonderful things that's going to happen is that the system is going to check to make sure you didn't skip any questions. What if you skipped one? You may not have noticed. The system is going to bring that to your attention. But if you just close or turn off the power, or hit the X for the browser window and walk away, there are no guarantees. In fact, you can't even be sure that it has been turned in, because you left it laying on your desk and somebody else may grab it. Right? You got to hit the submit button when you are done. Save your responses as you go. Click submit when you're done. Do this all in a single session. Now, we said this is high stakes. Let's come on down here. How high are the stakes? Well, it's 100 points. Tests are very oftentimes 100 points. Compare this in your mind to a quiz. What is that? 10, 20 points, right? Your writing assignments, very, much lower points. Take several of those things to make one test. So it's high stakes in that there's a lot of points associated with this. All you have to do is take it seriously, be prepared before you begin the test, have your book, have your notes, and of course you should have been studying for each one of these weeks that we've gone throughout the semester, right? So, I said you had 160 minutes. You have 50 questions, and each one of those questions is 2 points. Well, let's just think about the 50 questions, because how long do we have to answer those questions? Well, this is not a difficult math question. If I said, instead of 160 minutes, if I said you had $1.50, and I said, I'm going to give that to you in 50 cents. How many 50 cents would you have? Well, 50 cents is 3 times 50 cents is $1.50, right? Isn't that right? You see what I'm saying there? That means you have 3 times 50, roughly 150 minutes, a little extra, a little spare change, right? You have about 3 minutes per question, okay? Now, if you have been studying and if you're well prepared, I suspect that you're going to read the question and you're going to go, oh yeah, I remembered this, and I know that the answer to this is, X. I say X because you cannot memorize that it's A or B or C or D, because those things shuffle. The questions change, the order of the questions change, the order of the answers changes. So but still that means you learned the concept if you know the answer to this question is, is specifically something in your list that you look for. Okay. What if you don't know? What if you read the question and you say, I have no idea what the answer is? Well, you might have to go to the book. You might have to look up a page number. You might have to reread a section of an article on that page that you were assigned to read. Well, how long do you think that's going to take? Because we said you have roughly 3 minutes, a little over 3 minutes per question. Of course, if you were able to answer 2 or 3 or 4 of those questions pretty quickly, then you saved some time as you did so. That means that, you can spend a little time looking up a question or two. What if you had to look up all 50 questions? Then there would be no way you would finish the test on time. This is where study and preparation pays off. By doing those quizzes, by repeating those quizzes, you're going to be prepared, especially if you take the test seriously and organize your papers before you begin. Okay, we've talked about one attempt, we've talked about doing it in a single sitting, we've talked about the point value and the number of minutes that you have. So now you're ready to begin the test on the day and at the time that you've made sure the library is open. You've made sure that not just that it's open, but that once you start the test that you have enough time to sit there and finish the test, right? So you may need a couple hours, and that you have time on the computer and all that. So you're going to go to the quizzes link, you're going to click the link to our quiz, and you're going to type in the password, which is good luck. You see that it is all lowercase, and you also see that there is no space. So even though if you were telling a friend of yours good luck, you might put some spaces in there. For our password, there are no spaces. Okay? Now, let's talk about the other side of the test. You click the submit button, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to see your score immediately. Okay? Well, almost. I delay the detailed feedback on your test score until after everyone has had a chance to turn in the test. So this is what you need to do. Put a note on your calendar that says, let me log back in on March the 22nd, because I'm going to delay it until, that should say until after March 21st. So on March 22nd, after everybody has turned in their test, you can go back out to the test, click the link to view the results, and you'll be able to see the questions, the correct answer, the answer that you gave. If you see any errors, you'll be able to talk to me about them. So you'll have all that. But I do delay that feedback until after everyone has turned in the test, okay? All right, and you can read the details there. I hope this was helpful to go over the test instructions so you have all that information. Again, let me just quick click through what you need to do. When you first come into our class, I mentioned that you could go to assessment and to quizzes. Again, you're working on Unit 6 quiz, but here's exam number 1. Here is the start and end times, and you see the attempts, right? You have a password you'll have to enter. So you say, well, I've forgotten the password already, but I know my instructor wishes me good luck, so maybe it is something to do with good luck. Okay. But you can always come to content. I hope you're doing this anyway. Sometimes as you scroll down, the pertinent information might move off the screen, but if you find Exam 1 category, now it says one item because I've already completed one of them, which was reading the instructions. See how I put that check mark there? That's how I know I've read the instructions, okay? But make sure that you scroll to the top. This second link is the actual quiz, and you can go to the quiz page or the test page. This one is the instructions. Okay? So I hope this helps. I do sincerely wish you good luck on the exam. I'll be posting your feedback for your last writing assignment. That, again, we did do some extensions on that, and I know it delays the feedback, but I also hope that it was helpful to you. And I'll be talking to you again very soon. Thanks.